Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the TPT podcast. We're going to be joined by my dad today, and we're going to be talking about the Kansas City Chiefs season and what went down this year for the Chiefs.
65 toss power trap. That might pop wide open, Rats.
What is up, everybody? Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to another episode of the TPT podcast. We're here with my dad, long-time Chiefs fan. He's going to be going over some of his thoughts on the season, what took place, winning the AFC West, and what's going to happen going into the playoffs. So tell everybody how long you've been a Chiefs fan and some of your favorite players that have played for the Chiefs.
I've been a Chiefs fan for over, first of all, hello everybody out there. I'm glad to be here with Jaden today. I've been a Chiefs fan for over 50 some years. It's been a long, brutal deal, but been around long enough for one Super Bowl and then two Super Bowls.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I have some good. I have a lot of players that I love from the Chiefs eras. Lenny Dawson, Otis Taylor, one of my favorites, which everybody knows, Derek Thomas. So we can keep going back. Nolan Smith, we can go way back. There's a lot of guys that I really enjoyed watching back then, and I'm still hanging in there. I'm riding it to the dirt.
So what has it been like being a Chiefs fan? You went from the Todd Haley era that was just absolutely brutal, and then you bring in Andy Reid and a guy like Alex Smith and those guys, and then now you have this winning culture of the Chiefs and Mahomes and Andy Reid. So talk a little bit about, your thoughts of how the Chiefs season has gone and what has led up to this era of Chiefs football, going back from when they first brought in Andy Reid 10 years ago last week.
When I was growing up, what I remember was the Chiefs was really, really strong on defense. They were knocking heads.
Marty Schottenheimer teams.
Yeah. And a little bit before, when you look back at some of the guys on defense, but Chiefs has always been strong on defense, and offense would here and there. But now moving up to today, we're defense is kind of, in certain areas.
Middle of the pack, yeah.
And in the offense is just crazy out of this world. But that's the difference. It kind of flipped, and now sure. Offense is winning, just like in any sports, man. You got to have good defense, but sometimes the offense can't carry it. But as you look at where the Chiefs are now, sometimes our defense will come in and carry our offense. But we just get that stability across. And there's no stopping us. So.
Yeah. So going into this season, there was a lot of predictions. You had guys like Bart Scott. You had guys on NFL Network that made a lot of predictions about the Chiefs, and especially the Chiefs offense, what you just brought up, because the Chiefs were historically just a defensive power team. Yes, you had your Jamal Charles and your Priest Holmes and guys like that sprinkled in there. And when you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, it was shocking to me in the offseason that so many people just doubted the Kansas City Chiefs because they lost Tyreek Hill. Now, even me, I had doubts. I did not think they would have the most wins in franchise history. I did not think they would get to this point. I didn't think that Patrick Mahomes would break the record for passing and be the MVP, because he's going to win MVP. So what was your expectation for the Chiefs going into this 2022 season? And did it match somewhat of what you have them right now as the first seed in the AFC West?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I said and I heard all this play about how the Chiefs are going to be not making the Super Bowl, and they weren't going to make it because of Tyreek Hill. Then you start breaking down the numbers, and you start looking at the numbers and what Tyreek was doing. And what most people forgot about is you got two great athletes on that team, and one of them is our quarterback. And when you got great athletes like that, the way they think is, you might have lost one piece, but you didn't lose me, and I've got it in my heart to step up and do what it takes to win. And then that Kelsey was another one. We had guys outside of that. When you look at Hardman, and now we picked up Juju and those guys, there is just more to it. And you got a quarterback that can, arm angles can throw, and we picked up some runners, some young guys that's stepping in and doing. I didn't have no. I had a little bit, but I figured we would still win our division and still be fighting for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. I didn't. I never had counted us out. Years ago, no, I would have counted us out. But what I see with the Chiefs now and how Andy is and how they're building it, you can't count us out. So I don't know what those people that call themselves professionals that get on there and look at the Chiefs and say that they're not going to make the playoffs. That's just ludicrous.
Yeah, I never thought they were gonna be a team that missed the playoffs like Bart Scott and some of these other people. Because I just thought that was crazy. You don't have a Patrick Mahomes led team and not make the playoffs, even if they would have been a 10-win team.
Yeah.
I thought that was maybe their floor in 11 wins, 12 wins was their max. But for them to get 14 wins and really the two teams they lost to that were great teams. You lost to Cincinnati, you lost to Buffalo. I'm not going to sit there at the end of the day and go, well, dang it, we lost to two teams that sucked. And then your other team, of course, you lost to the Colts. But losing to the Bills and losing to the Bengals, no one's going to sit there and say, well, you lost to the Bills and Bengals because those are two contenders for the Super Bowl. So if you look back and you say your season was losing to the two other teams that are people have going to the Super Bowl, you had a damn good season. So I thought the Chiefs exceeded expectation, and it was the other guys they did bring in, guys like Sky Moore, guys like Kadarius Toney. You have Hardman, who played well in the beginning of the season before injury. Isaiah Pacheco, 7th round pick, almost mystery relevant. The two last picks of the draft are doing well. And if you look at it, Brock Purdy and you have Isaiah Pacheco. So. And McKinnon is a touchdown machine. He has 14 total touchdowns.
Bring him back.
So, McKinnon is his guy. Yeah. But that also speaks to Mahomes, like you said. I don't think people would know who Justin Watson was before this season. No one would know who Sky Moore was. No one would know who Hardman is. And people know who they are because they play with Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes elevates their play. He doesn't have a true number one. He has Juju Smith-Schuster and MVS and those guys that were written off by their teams, written off by Green Bay, written off by the Steelers. And he brought those guys in, and he has one of the best records in football, and he's the number one seed in the NFL. So shout out to Patrick Mahomes and what he was able to do to this Chiefs team and be the number one seed when people had them at a 9-8 team and an 8-9 team. The average record prediction for those studios like Fox and ESPN.
And the main thing is we're going into the playoffs healthy.
Yes.
Healthy.
Yes,
healthy
that's the
minds,
important
healthy
thing.
bodies.
Yes, that's the important thing. The playoffs. We're going to get a little bit more into the playoffs here at the end of the podcast. But right now, we're going to go over some of the season stats for the Chiefs and who our MVPs are, Defensive Player of the Year, and our Rookie of the Year for the Kansas City Chiefs coming up now. All right, guys, like we said, we're going to be going over the roster, the stats, how everyone did, and then my dad's going to give his all phases of the game, his Rookie of the Year, his Special Teams Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and the MVP for the Chiefs. So right now we're going to go over the quarterback room. Pretty simple. It's just Patrick Mahomes. Really, Chad Henne got it in a couple times, but didn't have any completions. Patrick Mahomes started 17 games. He was 67% completion percentage. He broke the record for most passing yards in a game. I know it was in 17 games, but he still broke the record. He threw for 308 yards a game. That is very impressive. And then for the touchdowns, he had 41 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Great year for Patrick Mahomes. My opinion, MVP. Jalen Hurts had a great year. I like Jalen Hurts. He was a Sooner at the end of his college career, but it's got to be Mahomes. You got to go with Mahomes. Mahomes had a great year. And considering what Mahomes dealt with and how people doubted him, yes, he has Travis Kelce out there, first ballot Hall of Fame and one of the great tight ends. But Patrick Mahomes was special this year. This year was almost as great as his 50 touchdown season in 2018, in my opinion, because, again, that season you had Sammy Watkins, Chris Conley, Travis Kelce. The list went on with receivers that you have. You even had Hunt in the beginning of that year. So this is just as impressive. And then Chad Henne, again, got in a couple times, did not have a lot of passes. For your running backs, you had Pacheco led the team with 830 yards, and then a guy like Clyde who was doing good in the beginning of the season, and then the injury came along. But shout out Jerick McKinnon. It feels like he had more yards. It really did. He had 291 yards, but he was great in the receiving game. That was his big thing. In the receiving game, he had 9 receiving touchdowns. So shout out Jerick McKinnon. And then, of course, you had guys in the receiving game, McCole Hardman, Kadarius Toney, who was a huge pickup. Noah Gray also came along at the end of the season. I thought played very well. Jody Fordson, he had the injury. I'd like to see him more in the upcoming years with the Chiefs. MVS, very consistent, but he was there when he needed to be on the long ball. But everyone had a pretty good year. Juju was close to 1,000 yards. This season he had 933 yards. But now I'm going to go over who my MVP special teams player is, special teams player of the year, defensive player, and the rookie. So for my MVP, it's pretty simple. Got to go Mahomes. He's the MVP of the year for the league. So he's going to be the MVP for the Chiefs. We don't have to sit here and talk about that one too much. We just went over it. Great player. My rookie of the year, I'm actually going to go someone. A lot of people may say Pacheco, which I would not bat an eye at, but I'm actually going to go George Karlaftis. I'm going to go George Karlaftis because George Karlaftis had 5 sacks in the last 6 games. He absolutely exploded defensively, and if he plays like this in the playoffs, I can personally guarantee you the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. If he plays how he's playing right now, because him and Chris Jones, when they move Karlaftis inside with Chris Jones, it is a absolute wrecking crew. Yeah. So I'm going to actually go George Karlaftis as my rookie of the year. For my special teams player of the year, I'm going to go Tommy Townsend because, my goodness, the special teams this year has been bad. Usually Topaz is guys ready to go because the Chiefs have always had great special teams. Always had good returners, always had good special teams. But it just wasn't there this year. So I'm going to go Tommy Townsend. And then for my defensive player of the year, it's Chris Jones. It's the old cone Chris Jones. I mean, 14 sacks, almost 15 sacks on the season. Honestly, he should get close to winning defensive player of the year. I know you got guys like Michael Parsons, but I got to go with Chris Jones. Absolutely ridiculous the season he had. He should get extended this offseason.
14 sacks.
Yeah, so 14 sacks, played well this season. So those are my MVPs of the season. Kelsey, if you want to do an honorary MVP, because what Kelsey's been able to do this season has been incredible. He's right there with Tony Gonzalez. I think he surpassed Gronk this year, and that's saying a lot because Gronk at his prime was a great player, but I think he surpassed him. So those are my MVPs of this season. Now we're going to turn over to my dad, and we'll see who his MVPs of the season are on special teams, defense, and MVP of the season.
It's hard. It's kind of hard for me to pick somebody for special teams. So the only person that you can pick is Townsend.
Yeah, great punter.
But for defense, I thought Jaden was going to, or for rookie, I thought Jaden was going to say Pacheco, and I'm going to take Curious George. He's dead on there. That guy is incredible. He's drawn a lot of attention, which is helping Chris be able to free up him too. So Frank, we get Frank back. It's helping our defense. So I think in the playoffs, that's going to be a big issue with our defensive line.
Yes.
So I would have to say rookie of the year is
George
Curious George. Yeah, I can't say his name, so I call him Curious George.
All right, so who is going to be your defensive player of the year?
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. The 6'6" guy of mine, the big guy that I like in the middle, Chris Jones. CJ's the man.
Yeah. I mean, you got to go Chris Jones. There's some other guys on defense you could go with, but this defense, you can lose a guy like Tyreek Hill, in my opinion, and you still have Patrick Mahomes. You lose a guy like Chris Jones, your defense is in trouble. So Chris Jones has been absolutely phenomenal for the Chiefs this year. Aaron Donald is that guy, but he's been the best defensive tackle in the league this year. He's right there with Aaron Donald. So who are you going to go with for your MVP?
Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you got to
Patrick
go
Mahomes.
Patrick. Kelsey's a close.
Kelsey is definitely a close, and the only reason I'm giving it to Patrick is because I seen some of the throws that Patrick is making
Yeah.
to get it to get the ball to
Some of the guys, yeah.
Oh yeah, to get it to Kelsey. Some of the times you see it, and it's going underneath the defensive arms.
Yes,
and he's catching them, and it makes it even harder to even catch it because that ball is going blank for a while. It's getting hidden, and then all of a sudden it's in his hands. But Patrick is definitely Patrick.
It's got to be Patrick.
Yeah, it's definitely Patrick.
So those are our defensive players, our rookies. Those are our MVPs of the 2022 season. Now we're going to break down the playoffs a little bit and our take on the first round of the playoffs. All right, so now we're going to go off the AFC side of things. We're not going to address the NFC. We're going to do that later in the week on our Friday show. So we got my dad here. He's going to go over who he has winning in the wild card round, some of the matchups that could be faced for the Chiefs in the next round. So for the 4th and 5th seed, this will basically determine who the Chiefs could play in the divisional round. So who do you have winning between the Chargers and Jags, and some of your reasons why, real quick?
I'm liking the Jags. A lot of people are going to think, oh my gosh, what's this guy thinking about? But the Jags has been hot. They finally learned how to win. Trevor has just been hot.
Yes.
And with the Chargers are kind of been up and down and barely skimping by, and the Jags are coming in pretty hot. So I think there's going to be an upset there and I'll pick the Jags for that.
So you have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning. I'm going to pick the Chargers. But if you have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning, that's interesting because that could be the matchup for the Kansas City Chiefs in the next round. But I'll pick the Chargers in this one. You got the Jags. I am rooting for the Jags. I like Trevor Lawrence. A lot of people thought, oh, he's not going to be a generational talent. He's a good guy. Doug Peterson, a former, Chiefs coach. Love to see that he's having success in Jacksonville. They were one of the worst teams in the league, an absolute train wreck with Urban Meyer, and now they're a playoff team. But I'm going to pick the Chargers. I think if they're healthy, that offense can do some things. So now we're going to move on to a AFC North rivalry game in the playoffs, Baltimore versus Cincinnati. This game probably comes down to if Lamar plays and how effective he can be. So who do you have versus the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals?
Well, guys, ladies, this will shock you, but if Baltimore's defense is on top like it's supposed to be, and Lamar is healthy and he comes back healthy, I think Baltimore is going to win. We're looking at Cincy's been kind of rolling, but there's just some mistakes I see with Cincy. The way Cincy's been playing in there, and I think they're susceptible of getting beat by Baltimore because Baltimore has been able to handle them. And
they played them earlier in the year and they beat them with Lamar.
Yes.
But the defense was playing a little bit better then.
Yeah. Well, defense not playing too good now, but I think they're just stymied on offense right now. They're not moving the ball. But if Lamar comes back, that's going to wear that defense down. Because they have to worry about chasing him. It's got to change. It makes a lot of changes when you have a quarterback that mobile. So if Lamar comes back healthy, I think they're going to beat Cincy.
Yeah, this could be an interesting game. Former Chief Justin Houston's over there, and he's actually played pretty well. I would love to see Baltimore win that, but I don't see it happening because I don't think Lamar, even if he does play, is going to be 100%. He's thinking about the offseason getting paid, in my opinion. So I'm going to take the Bengals on. I know we're kind of opposite of each other right now, but I'm going to take the Bengals. Now, real quick, we'll do the 7th seed versus the 2 seed, the Buffalo Bills versus the Miami Dolphins. Who you got?
There's no surprise there. Buffalo's going to win this. I think Miami will come out and maybe bruise them up a little bit, but I think in the end, Buffalo prevail. Even though Buffalo has not been playing that great. If you really want to look and see what they're doing, they have not been playing that great. They've been skipping.
The turnovers have been a problem for the Bills.
Yes, sir. And so Miami may slip in there, but I think that Buffalo will get them.
All right, so you have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning that one, the Baltimore Ravens,
Yep.
and the Buffalo Bills. So that would lead a Baltimore versus Chiefs matchup and then a Cincinnati versus Bills matchup. We're going to go over the divisional rounds once it takes place after the wild card. So we'll get on to that, and then we'll get in the NFC side on Friday. We're going to look over the Kansas City Chiefs 2023 schedule real quick and go over our thoughts on the home and away schedule for the Chiefs. All right, guys, now we're going to go over real quick the 2023 away and home schedule for the Kansas City Chiefs. So outside of the AFC West, obviously, in the AFC West, you have your Broncos, Raiders, Chargers. You'll play them away. So this is the away games. We're going to play the Packers in Lambeau, the Patriots in New England. Then you have the Jets, Vikings, and Jags. So it's a pretty decent favored schedule, similar to this year. You never really know the schedule until the season starts, because we all thought this season schedule was going to be a gauntlet of a schedule, and all these teams. I mean, look at the Rams. The Rams fell apart this year, so a lot of these teams you could see fall apart. Don't base it off of this year. You'd have to do it somewhat, but so we're going to talk a little bit about some of these games: Packers, Patriots, Jets, and Vikings. So for the first game that we're seeing, the Packers. What is your thoughts about the Packers? You're going into Lambeau. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be there?
Definitely, Aaron Rodgers will be back. He's licking his wounds right now, but most of the athletes that are really tough like that, there's no way they're going to walk away with a loss like that.
But do you think it's in Green Bay?
The game?
No, do you think that Aaron Rodgers returns to Green Bay?
I don't. Well, there's some bad eggs there. I think that's just seen. That's yet to be seen. But there's some bad feelings there with him at the Packers. Excuse me. There'll be some talk going around.
Oh yeah, this offseason should be interesting. The next team we got up is Andy Reid versus Bill Belichick. My thing is Mac Jones going to be your absolute starter next year. They do need an OC. So do they go get former OC Bill O'Brien? That's with the Alabama Crimson Tide. We'll see about that. What is your thought about the Patriots going in?
Are we talking about that game? Are we even talking about that game? The Patriots? Are we even talking about? Man, let me tell you something, man. They're just, the Patriots went from top to bottom real quick, and they could be in a game and just basically take the football and hand it over. They're not even, I can't even talk about them. So that to me, that's a giving game for us.
All right, so the Patriots, we'll see if Belichick can get back to his winning ways like he explained, because it used to be the Patriots, now it's the Patriots. So the next thing we want to talk about is the Jets. Good young roster, good head coach. Zach Wilson is not the guy. They're going to need a veteran quarterback. Is it Aaron Rodgers? Is it Derek Carr? Is it through the draft?
Maybe Lamar.
Maybe Lamar Jackson as well. What is your thoughts about the Jets going into next season? Can they be a tough team, or do they stick with a guy like Mike White or Zach Wilson?
They could possibly, if they get a quarterback, they'll be tough. But if they're still hanging around with the same old people heading that team up as quarterback, then I think we'll walk the field on them.
All right, now we have a big game coming up.
Yes.
It's a house divided game.
Yes.
My older brother is a huge Vikings fan. We should be at Minnesota for this game. We will be there at this game. So it's house divided. We're looking forward to this one. What are you thinking about the Vikings versus Chiefs next year? Rematch of Super Bowl IV. It's always a good one when it's Chiefs versus Vikes.
That it'll be great. I think that the Chiefs will win that game. Their defensive backs are they can't stop. They can't stop.
No.
They can't stop what we got.
No, they're
speed kills.
No.
Speed kills, and it's hard to stop the onslaught what we got coming at them. So I think we're going to beat them, and I think we'll beat them pretty handily, and it'll be ever so sweet when we go down there.
So this is the bragging rights game.
Yes.
Chiefs versus Vikes.
Oh yeah.
And then the last one of the way game, real quick, is Jacksonville. We should be at that one again. We
Yes.
are in Florida, in Orlando, so we should make that trip down to Jacksonville. I think this game right here has potential of them being the new team in the AFC West, slowly but surely. If they can get Trevor Lawrence, another wide receiver, like Joe Burrow does have a chemistry with Jamar Chase, that's a team that I think can be right there, 11-win team. And it should be a good one as we go to that game in Jacksonville.
You know, it's funny we're sitting here and we're putting Jacksonville up there, but I'm going to tell you, Jacksonville can become one dangerous team. And one of the reasons why is for so many years they've been bad. I think they've only had one really good year throughout their
Yeah, with Blake Bortles.
Yes, but now they got a quarterback, and it's like you said, Jaden. They get another receiver. Who knows what they're going to get in the draft or just through trades, but they can definitely be someone to make some noise. And we're not going to look at them lightly, but I think the Chiefs will pull that out. We could come out of this year pretty tough this year. Next year, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Those are the away games. Now, real quick, we're going to rattle off the home wins, and we're going to wrap this thing up. All right, so now we're going to go over the home games. This is the interesting part for me because the Chiefs have the tougher schedule at home, but that can be a good thing at times because outside of the AFC West, you have the Bills, the Dolphins, the Bears, the Lions, and the Bengals. All teams that had a winning record except for the Bears this season. So rattling off real quick some of your thoughts on our home schedule. You have the Bills. We'll start off with them. It's the Bills Chiefs.
That can go either way.
It's Peyton Manning. It's Tom Brady. That's the new.
Yes.
That's the new game. And as a fan, you want to kill everybody, but sometimes it is great looking back and you have those battles where it comes down to the last second between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. So that should be a good one. What is your thoughts about the Bills at Chiefs? Can they beat them in the regular season though? They've had some problems versus them in the regular season for the last 2 years.
Well, that's going to be a tough game. But I think we owe them something coming in our place and beating us this year. We'll be ready for that with these young guys. Josh Allen is not so much wanting to run. Our defense has stepped up with these young guys,
and they'll only get better.
Yes, and they don't have the running backs aren't that great. So I think that Kansas City will beat them at home.
All right, so now we're going to move on to the revenge game for the Cheetah, Tyreek Hill, heading back to Kansas City. You have Dolphins versus Chiefs. We don't know the dates to that yet, but that's a game we definitely want to go to because Tyreek Hill, is he going to get booed? Is he going to get cheered? We're going to see because there are some bad blood between the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill. He's going to be back in Miami. That's one I would love to go to and see the atmosphere in Kansas City for that one. What are your thoughts on the Dolphins going into next season? And is Tua their sure franchise guy?
No, Tua's not. This game right here, it kind of makes me chuckle because I can tell you right now, without a shadow of a doubt, what's going to happen with this game, what's going to happen with Tyreek. Tyreek's going to come in this game, and he's going to feel like he's going to have to show out and perform and do everything. And when you try to emphasize that and do too much, that's when you fall flat on your face.
Yeah, that's when the fumbles happen. And
exactly.
Yeah,
so
drop
I
passes.
think he's going to want to come back home and prove that I'm still the man and there's nobody that can guard me. But little does he know that we do have, these guys have became young veterans, I should say, back there on the defense.
Yeah, they really have.
Strapped and ready by next year. So that's gonna be a great game to watch, and that's one we wanna fly to Kansas City and go check out.
Oh yeah. So then next up after the Dolphins, there's the Chicago Bears. They have a good young team with some cap space. And they'll have the first pick overall, so it'll be interesting to see what Justin Fields can do with that. He almost broke the single season record for rushing yards for a quarterback. Do you think the Bears can be a good young team on the rise, or are they going to be the same old Bears next year?
I think they're going to be upcoming. That game right there worries me a little bit. We're going to lose some games, and I think,
A little sleeper game, trap game.
That's one that's a sleeper game because that guy's pretty mobile, and that's one that could worry me, that could slip by us. Is the Bears.
And then another up and coming team, first winning
Uh-oh.
season in a long time, and Dan Kimmel has turned around that franchise, is the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions will have a favorable draft pick and they will have some cap space. Do you think the Lions are another team in that division that can be right there with the Minnesota Vikings trying to win that division? And do you think they need to move on from Jared Goff, even though he had a good season, or do you not draft a quarterback in the early couple rounds? Do you stick with Jared Goff?
I think you still stick with Jared Goff because
Yeah.
I think they still need to bring in a quarterback. They bring in a young quarterback, and if Jared doesn't work out for them, they always got this guy in their back pocket.
Yeah.
But I think you stick with him. He had a heck of a year this year. The Lions did really great this year, but I don't think the onslaught that the Chiefs is going to throw at them. I don't think they can handle that yet.
No.
No.
And then, of course, the team that we just have trouble with, the thorn in our side, the Cincinnati Bengals. We will play them at home this season. It'll be a little bit different.
Absolutely annihilate them next year.
You
Be
think
prepared.
you think it's the year?
Be prepared. Yeah, all that's been going on, we are going to annihilate them next year. It ain't going to be this stuff where we're fumbling the ball, because you see, everybody knows now how they tackle. They don't really tackle. They hold a guy up and then they game tackle and then they strip before they stop the play. And that's what happens. I've been watching them. That's the way they do it. They game tackle, strip the ball, and it causes a lot of turnovers. I guarantee they probably have a lot of fumble recoveries.
Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes always should be a good one.
Yep.
We'll see if that Chiefs secondary can be a little bit better this time. We'll probably have to play them in the playoffs. We'll see about that. And lastly, the 17th game that is added, it is the Eagles Chiefs in Kansas City. That should be a good one. The two best teams right now. That could be the Super Bowl matchup. So you could see a Super Bowl rematch game in Eagles Chiefs. What are your thoughts on Jalen Hurts this season?
Jalen Hurts had a great season this year. Some people say because Mincy came in, I don't know if he's true to that, but you see what happened. Now Hurts is back and the tables are starting to turn. So that guy's a good quarterback.
Yes.
He was at Oklahoma, and I love Oklahoma and watched him leave Alabama and come to Oklahoma. He's a good quarterback, so he's going to wreak some havoc.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes should be a good one. A lot of good quarterbacks on that schedule. We'll see about the 2023 season. This is my dad, Mark Lolar, on here on the TPT podcast. We're going to get out of here, guys. Make sure you guys go check out Jaden's jerseys as well. You can get awesome hats like we're wearing right now. And, of course, awesome NFL, NBA, MLB jerseys, college football, and basketball. So make sure you check that out on all our other videos. We'll be back on Friday for a pre-playoff edition of the TPT podcast. We will see you guys next time.
TP, we out.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell, follow us on all social media, and check out our videos each week.